My question is...
Go ahead, please.
My question is, may the Honorable Minister indicate whether he can confirm if the member for St. Ann Northwest, who is current opposition spokesperson on health, has a contract as a doctor with a private hospital in the parish of St. James, where I don't finish it. No, the question don't finish. The question don't finish. The question don't finish. Where the Cornwall Regional Hospital is located, and as such may be conflicted by his strident calls for the closure or downsizing of the Cornwall Regional Hospital. Mr. Speaker, on a point of order. Rubbish, shut up and shut your mouth in the ground. Rubbish, shut up. Rubbish, shut up.
Well, me kind of dumb. I don't know what to say about that. By the way, that was a scene from Tuesday's sitting of Parliament, which made its way to social media. We have some folks with us. We want to hear the thoughts of the young people on this not-so-model behavior. From Talk Up Youth at the back, Christina Monteith and Najib Spence, right there, and the stools from National Youth Parliament of Jamaica. Is it Daverine or Daverine?
Daverine.
Daverine Gaynor, Montel Hill is in the middle, and from the Youth Advisory Council, Stanisha Davis. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Najib, it says you're the co-host of Talk Up Youth, so I'll start with you. Did you see this before, that video before?
Actually, I have seen it before.
When you saw it for the first time, now you've had a chance to think about it, but when you saw it for the first time, what were your thoughts?
Well, I actually saw two. I saw one with Sir Peter Phillips and...
You'll talk about this one first and then
this
we'll
one,
get to
okay.
Dr. Phillips.
Well, this one I saw it on about Wednesday. And it was circulating on my timeline, on my Instagram, both on Twitter. And then there was a screenshot from Mr. Campbell getting up. And there have been a lot of memes that have been created from it. But generally, my views on it is that when, as a Jamaican, when you look on this video, I want you to go and do your research to see the whole context of the video and not just look at what was extracted, because it was a very heated topic on the Cornwall Regional Hospital, and that is what led to here. No, it must be also taken into consideration that there were children and sitting in Parliament that day, and while that I don't want it to be the biggest consideration right now, is because generally you are a leader, and as a leader you're expected to behave a certain way with decorum. And it kind of discourages young people from engaging in this sort of relationship with Parliament. Generally, I don't really...
You weren't impressed?
I wasn't impressed. Generally, I'm not affiliated with the Parliament in any way, and Christina can tell you. But why I'm here is because I find various means to encourage youth, and this is a reason why people like me share this view.
You're apathetic about politics.
Precisely, because when you look at a video like this, it's very distasteful for you to look at our leaders and expect the children looking at something like this. It kind of sends a contradicting view as to how a leader is expected to behave.
Okay.
Montel, you are a member of National Youth Parliament of Jamaica. I was watching you watch a video and you were laughing. I'm not sure how to read that exhibit. Did you think it was funny, or are you laughing out? What was that reaction?
Really, Simone, I'm laughing at the entire situation that is taking place. I'm not impressed, but I'm not alarmed by what took place. It's not the first time that we are seeing this attitude from parliamentarians, from leaders in general. And I would like to say that it's not the first also. It happens on the international scene.
Yes, well, it's very bad in some parts. People are throwing punches and pens and everything. Yeah, but
terrible.
that doesn't. I see that argument sometimes, and I hear people saying, "Well, it's worse in other parts of the world," and so why are we comparing ourselves to the worst of the worst? Shouldn't we be trying to strive for better?
I would like to say something, and this is, I personally would not like to see a leader that is dispassionate about the issues that affect people. However, the display that I saw passion. I don't know how to interpret it, if it's really fighting for the people and the issues that surround Cornwall Regional Hospital. However, I hope that the same passion and zeal that I am seeing coming from the politicians when they are in Parliament, that we see that on the ground when they are defending the rights of people and to ensure that we all have social rights as people in Jamaica.
Yeah, let me go to Daverine. Well, I've never heard a member of Parliament telling another member of Parliament to meet him outside. That's the first I've heard that.
Actually, Kasamuda said that yesterday in his 38-year history.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen a little bad behavior before, but that I've never heard.
Or somebody flipping somebody the bird.
Yep.
Or two.
What do you think?
Personally, I am of the view that there is no excuse for what happened. I don't believe that we should, as Simone said, emulate the worst of the behavior that we see on the international stage. And to be honest, it does get much worse than this on the international stage. Guns have been pulled, bombs have been set off in Parliament, so we know that it gets really bad. But I think as Jamaicans, we have a responsibility to children, to the society, to set a better example, especially because of the situation that we live in with our high crime rate and this perception that young people lack the morals and the values of the older generation. But who do we look up to? Where are we supposed to get that sort of moral fiber? Where are we supposed to learn how to settle differences without it devolving into this kind of cascade?
Yeah.
Because when you see, what it reminded me of is one of these viral videos that we know with that young woman saying, "Catch me outside." It was very, like it's something that you would expect to see on TMZ or something like that. And I don't appreciate that from our parliamentarians, although I understand passion and drive and energy and verve, but I think there's a way to do that and be eloquent and succinct and express yourself in a good manner and set a good example for young people when they have disputes, when they have passionate displays and they're arguing their points and they're strong about it, to not devolve into attacks on people. That's not acceptable.
Yeah. Daverine, I don't think we can find anybody in the country that will say, "I don't have a problem with it."
There were some on social media.
So most of us have a problem with it. But is it because we kind of don't rate our young people into thinking that our young people will emulate that? Is that the biggest concern we have about what went on in Parliament?
When you think about leadership, right, you have some qualities that young people specifically look out for, and that is emotional intelligence. And with this ordeal, you cannot stress emotional intelligence of our leaders, right? In good governance, you have to have consensus, because you have to realize that at stake it is national development, policies relating to national development. And if our politicians cannot be emotionally intelligent to come to a consensus, it is really not impressive for young people looking on.
Yeah. Stanisha, there. Sorry.
But is that the concern, that young people might want to emulate what they see?
No, because it is really important that they set the example for us, right? So it's very important that we do not compare ourselves to how other parliaments operate.
All right.
What do you say to the folks who say, why are we taking offense? For example, with what Dr. Peter Phillips did, nobody else in the House did. Everybody was laughing. They thought it was funny. No offense was intention. So what is the problem?
My issue with this is that, well, first of all, let's start on the premise that, of course, Parliament is a place for expression and to defend national issues passionately. However, if your theatrics are going to take away from the substantive issue, nobody remembers what they're actually debating. Everybody's talking about what they did.
And it's so important.
In fact,
CRH, what's going on is so important, but we're talking about this instead of that.
Right. So in fact, Parliament descended into chaos that day, and they did not get to speak about such substantive issues. So why I take offense is because taxpayers' money is going into this, and yet still we're not discussing what is happening with the Cornwall Regional Hospital. They traveled all the way for this, for Parliament. And if your theatrics are going to take away from the very point of the meeting, then what is the point? So I take offense because I feel like we weren't dealing with issues that we were supposed to be dealing with. And it sets a bad example for young people like me who are going to say, okay, as leaders, we can just go off on this, you know, on this rant and not deal with the issues. What about the people that we're serving? How are they going to look at this? What are we doing for them? We're supposed to serve them.
So then when a politician says to you, or you hear or see them on TV telling members of the nation how we ought to behave about law and about order and about decency and about so on, do you all take that with a grain of salt, or is the message kind of less weighted because perhaps you feel they're not living or practicing what it is they're preaching? Or are we, you know, holding them up too much and expecting too much of them? They're human beings, these things happen. How would you respond to that?
Well, my response would be that every leader ought to display a sense of respect for its citizens and the people that he or she leads. Professionalism is something that hasn't expired. So we are to be professional in our capacity in executing our duties as leaders of Jamaica. And to be very honest, as I said before, tempers get flare when hot button issues are being discussed. But in all of that, if it is that we are going to debate, out of it, we young people can look on and say, here is a strategy, a debate strategy that I can emulate. Instead of the curse out and the meet me outside and those sort of bantering, I would appreciate if intelligent discussions would occur so that we can learn how it is that we are to execute.
Najib,
can I add to that question,
sure.
actually? Because, you know, Talk Up Youth is an organization that we interact with a lot of young people every single year, and we cannot discount the impact that this has on youth apathy towards the political processes, because that's a recurring theme on Talk Up Youth, with young people saying, I don't care about politics, I don't want to talk about it. The politicians are worse than the people in the community. So I think that we have a very strong responsibility to call out this behavior when it happens, because we cannot discount it, that it's going to have an impact on young people out there.
Najib, my final question, because we have to go shortly. Simone is my very good friend, in a very serious way. But if I did what the opposition leader did in a joke to her on television, I probably would not be allowed to come back on this program. What should happen? What should happen now that we see that in Parliament? Should there be any censoring? What should happen?
Well, that's actually a very good question, first and foremost. What should happen? Taking into consideration that parliamentarians are offered immunity when speaking in Parliament, it's obviously a different conversation than if Christina and I were to debate like this on national television.
Right.
What should be done is, I believe, a level of accountability, as my member of the panel here so rightly stated, Sanisia stated, that when taxpayers' monies are being wasted, they need to lift the veil of immunity to hold our members accountable for situations like these.
Sanctions, what?
Sanctions.
So the Speaker should do something to...
What is being done about Cornwall Regional Hospital is why I'm here this morning.
Yeah.
My great-grandmother lost her life in Cornwall Regional Hospital.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Because of negligence, there are several issues there. And Jamaica, I don't want you to focus on the 2 minutes and 20 seconds that the media will show you. I want you to focus on what is at hand here, what is happening at Cornwall Regional Hospital, and hold our members that we have elected accountable.
The main theme, even though you speak of that, which is what we really ought to focus on, but for the purposes of this discussion, the members of Parliament have apologized. Do you all think that's, Sandy says, that enough? Do you accept the apologies?
Yes, there was an apology. However, I don't feel like they appreciated the significance of their actions. As leaders, all consequences of actions. And I don't feel like the apology sufficiently addressed that. It wasn't adequate for me.
Yeah. Anybody else? Accept? You accept?
I don't think that we can censure the minds of people. I would hope that the politicians, as I said, would bring the passion into actually serving the people. So don't apologize to me, but show me how it is that you are going to improve the situation.
You, Devereen, you want to end up here one day. You guys are members of the Youth Parliament. So this is where you want to be in a couple of years. Does this stymie you any, or does this like make you want to do it even more so that you can make a difference?
It's a cautionary tale for us young people who aspire to lead the way, right? We see the example being set, and we engage discussions like this, know how we can not make the same mistake. As my colleague said, while an apology is important, it is very important that we see the actions being done. How is the issue being addressed?
We have to go to news. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Great thoughts. And y'all be safe.